Second reading of Scripture is out of the Gospel according to John, the first chapter, verses 14 through 18. And the Word became flesh and lived among us. We've seen His glory, the glory as of the Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. John testified to Him and cried out, This was He of whom I said, He who comes after me ranks ahead of me, because He was before me. From His fullness we have all received grace upon grace. The law indeed was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. It is God, the only Son, who is close to the Father's heart, who has made Him known. Here is the reading of Scripture for this morning. Sermons have a mind of their own, I'm convinced. On the way to the pulpit, my sermon took over. It took a look at what I wanted to do and sneered. And then took a left turn and said, let's go this way. And I replied, okay, lead on. First we came to the children's moments, and the sermon said, I want you to do this thing from 1 Samuel, but just introduce the sermon like I did, and ask them to get on board during the sermon time as if they were adults. I said, okay, lead on. So if it's good news this morning, praise the leading of the sermon. If it stinks, blame me. Our favorite hymn this morning is How Great Thou Art. If there is a national hymn in America, this is it. But we have some people to thank. For instance, we must thank its author, who was a Swedish politician and a poet. His name was Karl Boberg. He wrote this poem that's put to music of How Great Thou Art, responding to an experience he had with the beauty and the awesome nature and power of nature. And so first people were singing this song in Sweden, and it became a very popular song. Then a German by the name of Manfred von Glen translated this into German, and it took off in that country. Then it went to all places, the Soviet Union. That place that some people call a godly place. But I don't want you ever to believe there's a godly place, a godless backup. Some people call a godless place. But don't ever believe there's a godless place just because some government says so. They don't have that power. I don't care what power they have. They don't have the power to make it a godly place either. I.S. Prokhonov translated this into Russian. Then an English missionary took it to the Ukraine. A man named Stuart Hine reinterpreted the song into English and then took it back to England. It was then that Billy Graham, American evangelist, had George Beverly Shea sing this song for the first time during a crusade in New York City. He was introduced there and has since become a favorite of many people. From Sweden to Germany to Russia, Ukraine, New York City. That's quite a trip for how great thou art. A most appropriate response to God is silence. With mouth open, and if there is a sound, it should be, wow. I could use the word awesome, but that word has been stolen from religion and dragged through the dust to common life. I handed a clerk in the store the proper change for a purchase, and he said, awesome. I knew we had lost something of that word's meaning, because there is quite a distance between an awesome God and correct change. How to preach about God that we call awesome or great. This is where the sermon took over and led me through the children's moments and led me to a theater, to a stage on which a drama was unfolding. The drama was about a time of crisis for God's chosen people, the Jews. They had begged for a king. The prophet Samuel, that's the first time. He resisted this request for two reasons. The king, he said, will take your sons, he'll take your daughters as maids, he'll take the best of your livestock, he'll take your land. And the second reason Samuel gave was that it is a lack of trust in God that you want a king. Finally, God told Samuel, go ahead. And they got a king named Saul, a mighty man, head and shoulders taller than anyone else, awesome height, but not so much between the ears, and a heart for God. Because it wasn't long before things with King Saul were not working out very well. He was showing signs of dementia. And the question was raised, now what? Samuel was a prophet of God from Shiloh. He was told to go to the town of Bethlehem. Bethlehem. One of the least of the towns of Judah. Bethlehem is not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. There he was to go to a family whose father's name was Jesse. And he was told, there I will reveal the next king. So Samuel went to Jesse's house. They got some material and they made an altar to God to make a sacrifice to God. And then invited Jesse and his sons to come to the sacrifice. And they did at the altar of God. And the sons of Jesse were paraded before the residents of Bethlehem and Samuel. First came Eliab, the oldest, and the people standing around said, "This is the one." The oldest son, tall, handsome. And his name even means Eliab, El, God, Abba, God is Father. Religious man. This is the Lord's anointed. This is the one on whose head we will pour out that oil of honor and make him king, anointed of God. And they all looked at Samuel. Samuel shook his head. This is not the one. But what? This is the oldest, most mature. With age comes wisdom, not him. Take another look, Samuel. No. You're looking on the outside of things, the appearance, the age. That's not what God sees. God sees the heart and character. But no. Samuel said, next. Next came old Abinadab. People smiled. They knew in their hearts that their wait for this revelation of the next king was over. Abinadab. Great guy. They knew his name meant Father of Generosity. If he won't be king, we'll make him the church treasurer. All right, Abinadab. This has to be the one. Samuel. There stood, shaking his head side to side. No. Samuel, what do you want? And he said, it's not me. This is not God's choice. Next. Then came Shammah. Oh, right. We finally have the one. We remember Shammah was a warrior who followed Saul into battle against the Philistines. He's a veteran. We need this one to keep our borders safe. The Philistines will never have the nerve to bother us again. Samuel? No. Oh, come on. What's going on here? The oldest and the wisest, the most generous one, the strongest one, and you say, next. There isn't a pulpit committee in the world that would pass on any one of these guys. 6 sons of Jesse made their way past Samuel. No. What do we do now? Samuel asked, Jesse, are all your sons here? Jesse kind of looked at his shoes. Replied, well, there's another one. Go get him. Oh, come on, he's the youngest. Go get him. He's out taking care of the sheep. Go get him. But go get him. And Jesse sent for his youngest son. He was handsome, it says. Had beautiful eyes. Man, what better qualifications for king, you know? But God sees the heart. And Samuel said, anoint this one. This is the one. And all the people said, what? He's a kid. This is the one. You sure? This is the one? You reject the oldest? You reject the most generous one? You reject the warrior? And now this is the one? He does have beautiful eyes. And Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon David from that day forward. And Samuel left town. This is a great God. And one of God's greatness is that God never waits for a majority vote before God acts. The least expected one. This is the one. Now, it does occur to me that another act of God happened in Bethlehem, that little town, the least in the tribe of Judah. The time wasn't necessarily a good time. No one was expecting what happened. And a child was born. The mother was young. But when later writers and Christians reflected on that event in Bethlehem, one explanation was, this is God with us. And even later, another one said, in the one born in Bethlehem, we have seen the glory of God, the awesomeness of God. We see the fullness of God. Grace upon grace. I don't know why David was chosen to be king. It didn't make any human sense. I don't know why in Bethlehem, the least expected place, the child was born. But I do know this. Our God is a great God. And we can trust what God does. Amen.